So there we have it. And she finished her job and made me some money. So let's take a look at our drivers real quick, how they did. So first, again, I always like to save over major events. So I have 3 main saves. I have job. This is when I'm on the job. Mission complete. I finished the job. Roaming is when I'm driving around doing other things like getting sleep, fuel, things like that. Although maybe I would want to wait until I get the fuel, but nah, it's fine. Okay, let's take a look at our drivers, see how they did. Alright, so you finished a delivery. You're currently giving me profit per day of almost 5,000. That's pretty good. And your last trip gave us over 6,000. Okay. Molly just did a trip. She's almost at 2,000. And her job almost paid 2,000. She was hauling some TVs. Okay. So we know that he leveled up. I have him on fuel economy. I don't think he really needs another one. So what would I like him to do? Honestly, either balanced, which would mean he'd fill out all these things evenly, or possibly long distance. I want to make him our long distance driver, so I'll have him focus on that. She didn't level up, and I'm fine keeping her unbalanced, because what she'll do is she'll put a point here and a point here, which will open up more cargo potential for her, which will probably help her in the profit margin area. Because right now, he has all those things ticked off. He's actually fairly high level. He also makes more money than she does, but... Okay. Oh, is he on a job? I meant to look at that. He should be. Yeah, he's on a job. In 16 hours, he'll be done. I highly doubt I'll get enough money in 16 hours to get him the truck without taking a loan, but we'll see. Oh, what is her time? 7 hours and she'll finish her job. She's taking shorter trips because she doesn't have the same long distance stat that he has. That's fine, though. I mean, she comes back more often. Okay, let's get a job. I might want to do a short one here. So let's see what we can do. This one doesn't pay too bad. So we're going to Portland. Okay. We have 2 hours to pick it up. That's not bad either. Almost 3 hours, actually. Yeah, not bad for money for the miles. No pressure. It's a standard delivery. Pretty basic stuff. We're delivering furniture to Portland Cargo Central. Okay. So let's mark that. You have to specialize drivers, or can you max out all categories? You can eventually. But I think it helps in the early running to get a little bit of specialization going. And some skills I think are worth more than others. Like the economy, it doesn't really do a whole lot. It makes you burn fuel less quickly. But considering that fuel isn't that hard to get. Now from a profit margin standpoint, it saves you money, sure. We're probably gonna have to pull forward here. Actually, where's my gas station? Okay. So I'm gonna go a different route than what it's telling me to go. Because if I go left, get gas here, and then I can just go this way. So I'm gonna go left rather than right. I don't really need gas. I'll probably be fine, but just for... I cannot see over that way at all. Okay, looks good. A little bit of cheatsy there, but I couldn't see what we were looking at there. Get gas. Okay, again. Turn off. You don't have to fill it up all the way too, but I'll go ahead and do that. Why not? Yeah, that almost cost me 300. Okay. We don't need the lights. It's now 9 in the morning. We're good to go. Okay. Now we can go right. And as this guy clears. Straight through this light. Let this car go. All right. Great market. But yeah, generally speaking, as far as the skills go, I think it's a good idea to have at least one in a lot of categories because it opens up a lot of cargo. So, like, if you don't have a skill point in fragile cargo, you can't deliver fragile cargo. It's not a possibility. So, once you get that going, everything else is just going to give you bonuses. So, like, let me just go down the skill tree while we're talking about it. So, the hazardous cargo, all it does is give you access to the cargo in question, and they're just in categories based off of what type of material. So, you got explosive gases, flammable liquids, so on. Long distance, this will unlock longer distance jobs, so this is kind of a requirement to a certain extent, but you know, it's within a range bracket. So one level gives you jobs up to 400 miles. If you don't have it, then you can not travel any more than 250. So this one can be fairly important. High value cargo, once you have a skill point, it unlocks the value, the cargo. Then everything after that just gives you greater bonuses. Same thing with fragile cargo. Just-in-time delivery gives you the important deliveries. The second rank gives you the urgent abilities, but then after that, it's just bonuses. Fuel economy is just reduction in how much fuel you consume. So a lot of these are just bonuses, and specifically bonuses towards how much money you make. Initially, it will give you some experience bonuses, but mostly it's money in the later stages. So it can help in profit margin and stuff, but it's really that first point, or in this case, the 2 points that really matter. And then this one, you know, you have to do all of them to get all of them, but I don't really prioritize the last two as much. Maybe I'll unlock it, maybe I won't. They kind of sound scary, because the last one is toxic and infectious substances. I don't have that one, and I don't have corrosive substances. That sounds scary, so I'll hold off on those. Alright, that's probably the last one on the end here. Where am I picking? Oh, okay. They ran out of docks for it, so they just stuck it over here, huh? I don't know offhand which ones are the most valuable to do as far as the skills. The one thing I will say, when you're doing the jobs, obviously the AI is different because it's automatically done and all that. But the important cargo, at least with the DLC I have, maybe it's different with the base game, it's usually heavier stuff. I don't think all the time, but pretty typically. So when you're first starting out, that might not be the best one to grab. Maybe fragile cargo would be a good one. Obviously, you have to make sure you don't damage the cargo, but from a standpoint of whether or not you can haul it early on, it's going to be easier to haul than maybe important cargo would be. So there's a little bit of consideration of ease of ability to haul. All right. See if we can pull out here. If you're ever wondering why I'm taking something so slow or so wide, it's mostly so I don't get my trailer hung up on whatever. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and take a save here, as I always like to do a save at the start of a job. The reason that is the case, in case something happens and I have to reset, just so I know what job that I took, and so I don't get confused and miss out on a job that I wanted to do. All right, a lot of traffic right now. Looks like we can get in though. Oh. Sorry, stop sign. It's fine, Mouse, take your time. Getting stuck isn't something you can winch yourself out of in this game. No, you can correct it, but it is definitely annoying. I say that mostly just so, you know, people that are newer, it's a good tip. Like, take your time, take turns wide, that kind of stuff, if you're not used to this kind of stuff. I'm not going to say I'm the best driver in the world, because I really am not, but... And I have no experience with trucks like this in real life whatsoever. We got away with that one. Alright, I should probably get over in the left lane, as we'll need to do that eventually anyway. I suspect we won't make it through this light, nah. I'm kind of curious now, because we've done all these trips and there hasn't been a single detour. Usually I find the detours happen late at night. Detours can either be road construction or they can be accidents. And pretty much what happens is the way that you want to go is locked down, you gotta go a different way. I could see you as a driver. Oh. Not sure which way we're going to go here, but I suspect we stay on... I actually forgot which destination we're going to. But I'm going to guess Pendleton is the right one to go here, because that's... the west one seems wrong. Let's see where we're going. So we're going to Portland. We're bringing furniture, I remember that bit. We got 9 hours to get there. Estimated time, 3 hours, so plenty of time. This was not by any means a priority... Oh, we have to get over. Priority trip, though, so... Probably the next time I stream this, we'll do like a more long-haul job. My focus this time was testing out this truck, and I wanted to do cargo that was really nice and heavy. So I was just taking whatever job I could find that qualified for that. Just to see how this truck could handle, because again, the game tends to think that our stats were real bad with this Allison gearbox. I don't think that's true. I think this gearbox is quite good. So I don't think the in-game stats that they give you are very good guideline. And I might end out this stream once we're done here just to show you the example of what exactly I'm talking about, like how much different some of the other gearbox and their stats are. And in my opinion, how it's not really being portrayed correctly, the Allison gearboxes. And I think, again, it's purely because they're not taking that torque multiplier into account. It looks like we get off here, because we are indeed going to Portland. Alright, good, up to 65. This is the one thing, so I've been to a few different states, and I'd like to go to more. I do eventually have to consider where I want to set up my next headquarters. Because once we expand out the one I have, then, you know, after that, it's thinking about next place to go. Alright. Guys getting off on the rest stop. Alright, let's put our cruise control on. I think I'm leaning towards Salt Lake City, perhaps, in Utah. Because I think with our location, so we're in Salem, Oregon, I think we could cover a tri-state area fairly easily. So Washington, Oregon, California. So if we have California covered, Utah might make sense, because then you have Nevada, Arizona, maybe even New Mexico. So that would be a 4-state area that you could possibly cover from that location. So that might not be a bad base of operation. It doesn't have to be Salt Lake City. It can be other locations in Utah. But I think Utah might be a good place to look. Yeah, I didn't really like driving through California because there's this blanket 55-mile-an-hour speed limit everywhere for trucks, which is kind of frustrating. All right, we're gonna have to slow down here. Don't know what's going on, but we got some traffic issues. I'm gonna try and go around the traffic. I don't have any turn-offs to do soon because that might alter my behavior here. Kinda soon. How much traffic is in front of us? Do we think we can pass that in time? Maybe, maybe not. If I hadn't slowed down, yes, easily. Oh, is there construction up ahead? There is. Will it make me make a detour? Well, we'll find out, I guess. So that's possibly why we slow down. As a matter of fact, I need to slow down because the construction has its own speed limit. Alright, that wasn't anything too serious. Very short little area. Alright, that would explain the traffic, though. Alright, we're gonna need to get off soon, it looks like. Maybe not, though. It's kind of hard to tell from that. Could just be very bendy. I'm not gonna put cruise control on until I know what's going on, though. Yeah, just a sharp turn. This area is kind of pretty. Looks like a dam on our right. Oh, I'm going way too fast. Looking at the scenery, not at the speed limit. Now we're going downhill, so... Whoops. Good thing there wasn't any cops around, huh? Oh, we're down to 60, so we're gonna slow down again. Alright, we could probably put cruise control as soon as we get down to the proper speed. Yeah, I'll do. Alright, let's see our game plan here. Yeah, it looks like we're not turning off until we're getting pretty close to the destination. We have maybe a way station we have to stop at, and I suspect they will stop us. So, we'll be ready for that when it happens. There are two types of mirrors I could put up front, and I'm not sure how well I chose, because looking at that mirror, most of what I see, Like maybe even close to a third of it almost looks like it's just my truck. So you got the air filter on my left, and you've got the exhaust pipe beyond that. Good chunk of that mirror is just that. So the other mirror might have been the better choice. I tried to look at the two when I was in the garage setting it up. And I ended up going with this one because it's a bigger mirror. But the other one, although it's smaller, it's further out, might have actually been the better choice. I can always change that. I'll probably lose money in the transaction, but... yeah, so here's the way station trigger. And they're not letting me... they're not making me stop, so that's actually really good. What the hell are you doing? Car's just sitting there with its emergency lights on. Alright. It's a good thing I didn't have to stop there, because that car would have blocked my way. Is that why that's there? You know, I never even thought about that. I've seen that before with that light with the emergency lights on. I mean, the car with the emergency lights on. Never actually thought that that might be because the way station's closed. Maybe. Okay, we're going uphill. I'm going to go ahead and take the cruise control off and take control here. There's my loan installment. We're doing pretty well money-wise, though. I feel like my drivers alone are paying that off. So anything we make is extra. I'll reinstitute the cruise control. I'm just waiting until we're going straight. Because again, I have to take my hands off the controller to do it, so... might be time for us to get off. Let's see. Yeah, there's no point in putting it on at this point. By the time we straighten out, we're just gonna need to get off anyway, so... we'll just go without it. This is something with the steering wheel and pedals is a lot easier to do, maintain speed. With the controller you can kind of do it because you got the trigger that has the variable response with how much you pull it in, but kind of hard to hold the trigger halfway in for long periods of time. Now slow down as well. That's much harder to do on a keyboard though. Maintaining speed. Much harder to do. That's probably the hardest way to do that. I think we get off here, right? Yeah. So I actually want to get over one more lane. So this game is very playable with keyboard mouse. The same thing is true of Euro Truck Simulator. Oh, well, never mind. I had to speak about the detours. So it looks like we got an accident. Maybe. Yeah, there's an ambulance. It looks... yeah, that's an accident. Alright, so we're gonna have to take a detour here. It happens. I knew we were due one. How far is the detour? Kind of far. We're not gonna be in trouble for the job, but... this is one of those situations where you get more tired out than you intend. Like, 'cause it's not really a long distance trip we're doing. And there was one job I was doing, and it was a job from... I'm trying to remember what city it was in California. I'm not sure I remember. It might have been Fresno, I can't really remember. And then you had to go down into Arizona. And I had... similar situation there. I think it was an accident or construction or something that made it so I couldn't go on the exit I wanted to go on. Well, there wasn't another way to go. So, well, I mean, there was, just not a direct, like, easy turnaround. So, I ended up having to go on a detour that took 5 extra hours. In-game time, not real life, but pretty intense detour, especially as it was already an 8-hour job. So with that job, I was on the brink of my guy being in trouble for the sleep thing. So that stuff can happen. It's a real risk of driving in certain places and your more long-distance trips. At least it's a possible problem with those. And then we just get immediately back on, and we approach this from the other direction. So sometimes you gotta expect the unexpected. And that's why oftentimes I will refuel whether I need it or not. Because you never really know. Because I was also close to running out of fuel on that trip. That was a freelance job. I didn't have my own truck. And I wasn't about to pay money for refueling because I wouldn't keep it. Wouldn't keep the truck, that is. So that would just be money out of my pocket for no gain. Do I stay in this lane? Yeah, it looks like it. With the freelance jobs, they give you more fuel than you need, but not a lot more. So if you have a pretty intense detour like that, you can start running into fuel problems. Alright, so you're getting off the same place I am. And then it looks like the right lane is the one we want to be in. Alright. But that wasn't necessarily a bad detour there. Added a little bit of time. Nothing major. It's going to be green soon, so I'm just going to wait for the green light. Oh, never mind. I misread that. Well, now it's going to be green soon, so I'm just going to wait. You can go right on red. There's nothing wrong with that, but... I thought I saw the one light red going the other way, so I figured we were about to have a light change, but the light might have been different. It might have let one side through at a time. I'm not really sure of that. Oh, I'm too high a gear. Oh, train's coming somewhere. I don't think it affects us. Okay, 45 here. All right. Now the question is, does the turn signal happen right after the light or before the light? Looks like before. Yeah, that's one thing about this Washington, Oregon area. So... I'm assuming I'm reading this correctly, but I'm not allowed to turn here unless I actually get a green arrow. Again, that's an assumption on my part. That's not how traffic signals work in where I live. Typically, you might have a turn signal like that, but typically it will go on at the beginning stage of the light itself turning green. So the light will turn green simultaneously at the same time. Well, okay, no, let me back up here. It may go on before the light turns green, but then the light will turn green at some point during that. And then when the light turns off, the arrow turns off, you can still turn left while it's green, right? I hope that made sense. I kind of didn't say it in the best way. But yeah, so like you can turn left when the light is green for just people going straight or right. whether you have the arrow or not. I'll just go third person just to make this quicker. We're gonna ask Newton to remind me to clip this or link him the Twitch YouTube timestamp. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, so Newton's part of my Discord community and part of my group of friends, and he's from the Oregon area. I'm trying to remember. So he's in the Navy. I forget. I know he's based in that area, but I can't remember if he's based in Washington or Oregon. You might know that, Ursi. Okay, so there's our rewards. Not really anything special because it was just a standard delivery of some furniture. But in any case, there's a couple things I wanted to show you guys before we ended out here. I'm trying to reflect my thoughts on what those were. So first off, let's just quickly go back over state of the company. So you have 11 hours still to go on your trip. You have 2, so you're going to finish soon. That's good. This driver is by far and away the more successful driver of the 2, but they've been with the company a lot longer, so they've had the time to kind of develop. She started off higher level than he started off, but I think the fact she had no long distance stat kind of hurt her initially. So there's that. As far as hiring drivers works, you just go to the recruitment agency. How many drivers you have available depends on how many of these you've found in the world. So you do have to go to these locations and discover them. So an example of what one looks like if you haven't discovered it. I haven't been to very many places down in a lot of these other areas. So these are all question marks, right? You actually have to drive really close to it too. So there are towns I've been to, like I've been to Bakersfield, but I didn't actually drive close enough to where the location was to get it. So that is kind of a factor. But in any case, yeah, so when you hire a driver, I don't have any slots, so it's not going to let me do this. But you have a number of drivers to pick, and again, the more of those you've uncovered, the more drivers you have available. And then you've got your basic rating, their level up, how much they'd be paid. And again, general rule of thumb from what I've seen is the higher level they are, they typically get paid better. Like, for example, Martin and Caitlin here are the same level, so they get paid the same, right? Baklov, I think is his name, and Simon here are also the same level, so they also get paid the same. Their levels are in different things, but that is how it is. And then we've got multiple pages here, so if I don't like those drivers, I can look through. I think it typically sorts them by most experienced drivers, lesser experienced drivers, but I don't know if that's accurate or not. Because Caitlin there only has 2 levels, and yet she's up towards the top. And one of the guys towards the bottom here also has 2 levels, so I don't know exactly how it decides to sort them, but yeah, so I don't know who I'd hire here out of this group, but it gives you a little bit of an overview of how that works. Oh, and there is a fee. It's $1,500 per person you recruit. Other than that, I guess I was going to show you real quick under the truck dealers. Let's do a little bit of a rundown of what truck do we want to get. No, you know what? I think I'm going to give him an international truck. This isn't a truck I'd personally drive, but there is one in the town I'm in. And yeah, let's do this. So this is a truck entirely for the AI. So I wouldn't set this up for myself necessarily, but let's see what's our game plan for this. And I can also show you what I mean by the stats and how they come across, and how the Allison gearbox is rated so much more poorly than the other ones. So they have a number of default setups you can do if you don't really want to set it up yourself. Now, some of them have a level requirement, as we see there. But I'll just go to the most basic one, and we'll do a custom configuration. So first thing you need to do is you need to pick your cab size. So day cab is going to be your smallest one. And it is going to limit what chassis you can take. High rise is a little bit bigger. So we'll take that, but we can't use the smaller chassis on it, so it's giving me a warning about that. So we're going to be bumped up from the shorter chassis here to the medium-sized chassis with that cab. More than likely, I would give our driver medium length, probably 6x4. So look at the stats here. Heavy cargo, because we're getting more driven axles in the rear there. Now for engine. So 400 horsepower is your most basic one. Let's see what we have available. So we could jump that up to 565, but I don't know if I necessarily want to give him that good of an engine here. I think I'm going to go for the 500 horsepower one, because if you look at the torque, that's our first point where we have a jump up. And there's no difference here between all these engines and the amount of torque. Horsepower is the only thing that changes. Also a little bit of difference where that torque comes in, though, I'm noticing. So I'd say either the 500 horsepower or the 525. Looks like these international trucks only come with Cummins engines. There's no other choice here. So let's just say 500 horsepower for now. So again, you'll see that the stats change a little bit between the 400 horsepower and the 500 horsepower variant. Now for suspension. I'm probably going to aim towards the 18-speed gearbox, which this game really favors. You'll see the stats went up quite a bit. Watch what happens when I put the Allison gearbox on. Notice how those stats dropped pretty dramatically, in particular the hill traversal and uneven terrain. But it pretty much dropped across the board, I would say. Except for normal cargo. Seems like that's the only place it improved. So, I think this is just not a fair comparison, and anyone that's newer to the game, if you see this, don't let it scare you. Maybe this isn't the right gearbox for you. It really depends on your own personal preference and taste. But this is a rough guide. It's not really going to tell you 100% how good a truck is, at least in my mind. But as far as I'm concerned, this wouldn't be a bad choice. So we're looking at, looks like 155 right now. As far as interior goes, basic interior. Again, I'm not going to drive this thing. We're going to get an idea of the different ones. So that one adds a little bit of wood grain along that trim. And maybe an extra button there. Yeah, an extra button. And then we have the last one, which again adds another button or two. Some more gauges. Yeah, whatever. Paint job. Basic paint job's fine with me. What would we want? Because the kind of fancy paint jobs, they were really expensive. And I'm not going to drive this, so I really don't care. What do we think would look good basic-wise? White doesn't look bad. Blue doesn't look bad. Red doesn't look bad. His current truck's red. I might just keep that being the case. Okay, move on. So, as far as this stuff goes, I'm going to see where I can shave off some money, perhaps. Because again, this isn't my truck, so I don't really care. So just see if there's any trim features that are attached that don't really make a whole lot of sense from a price standpoint. What does the different exhaust options look like? I'm just curious. Alright, well, we're not going to install them because they're very expensive. But, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't look like we're going to really reduce cost anywhere else. Usually the basic trims are as basic as they can come. So that will do. That's probably what I would get him. So we're looking at about 155,000, which is kind of where I thought it would be. I said 150 to 160,000. This wouldn't be bad. Now, why wouldn't I drive this truck myself? I'm looking straight forward. Note that you can't see the mirror at all. I'd have to look that far to see the mirror. I don't like that. Now, there are ways you can get around that if you really do like these trucks, and let me show you exactly how that works. So, if you ever see one of these trucks and you really do want to get them, right? And you don't really care that you can't see the mirror normally. It's still nice to have that mirror, though. So, let me show you real quick how you can get around some of that stuff, right? We did get transported here. That's fine. I don't really care. Alright, so if you hit F1, which is your pause button, this is a As far as I know, the only way in-game you can pause. There's a number of things you can do when you're paused like this. It's a really good time to do the other stuff with your navigation if you want to check on what's the health of my truck like, what's the job status, all that stuff. Not bad to do that while you're paused. But toggle side mirrors, F2. There you go. It's not as good as having a real mirror, but it gives you something. You don't want that at all, you can hit it again and it starts turning them off, right? I usually have this one because it's really hard to see that mirror all the way on the right side. But if you want to have a truck like that and you still want to be able to look forward, you want to drive in first person and all that, you could still do it with these simulated mirrors. And then again, if you want to play and you want to play in maybe a more realistic style, you can also turn off the GPS altogether. Now, some trucks will have a GPS inbuilt, like my truck has, but it depends on how you want to play the game. So if you want that more immersive feel, you can turn all this stuff off like that and, have a more immersive feel. Or you can have the navigation system on and a simulated mirror, which is how I do it. So entirely up to you, but just wanted to show that to you guys. You know what? It didn't transport me to where that was. It transported me, I'm still at where I was at that job, so that's fine. Okay, so I think we're all good. Let me go ahead and save, because I don't remember doing so. Mission complete.